In many cases, there are real challenges to redeveloping urban areas. Maybe there were lots of old industrial properties in the cities, or the other challenges of neighborhoods that are blighted but have opportunity because of location to see new investment. And so it is often hard for a private company to take those early risks, to acquire property that might have a real environmental concerns about it. And so the ability of the public and private sector to define clearly both the opportunity for development, sort of the vision of what ought to go there, and also to share the risk in the development of how you cover the costs so that the private sector sees an opportunity to invest in that area. Because you've been willing on the public side to absorb some of the risk, maybe for the environmental issues, maybe some of the infrastructure costs. I think how those partnerships happen and how open the cities, the public sector, are to make them happen in their community is a very important part of the conversation that will permit the revitalization of cities to happen. In many cases, in the public-private partnerships, the real estate industry particularly has waited for the public sector to be the partner, and often the institutional structure is a redevelopment authority of some type that's a public agency. And I think increasingly what is happening is that the private sector is stepping up and creating their own types of partnerships. And probably the best example that I've seen in the country now is in Cincinnati, where the business community of Cincinnati actually created a community development corporation that has partnered with the city. So this is a privately financed nonprofit organization that is partnering with the city to become the redevelopment agency for two parts of the city, the downtown in a neighborhood adjacent to downtown called Over the Rhine. And they are partnering. They've raised lots of private money. They've used new market tax credits and historic tax credits. They've contracted with the city to get some TIF money and community development block grant money. But it fundamentally is a private redevelopment agency in contract with the city to develop certain parts of the city, which is a very unusual twist in how this is happening. And it's a remarkable story to look at their success over the last 5 or 6 years of what they've done in really revitalizing both the downtown of Cincinnati as well as a neighborhood that was one of the most blighted in America called Over the Rhine. Millennials, people 18 to 32 years old, are first the largest cohort in the demographics of America now. There are 83 million people of that age between 18 and 32 in America. There is even more of those than there are the baby boomers, which everybody writes about. And they are fundamentally beginning to reshape American society and will have a big impact on real estate. As an example, a 24-year-old today is 6 times less likely to have a driver's license than those of us that are older. That's from General Motors, who has been surveying them, and they obviously are concerned about that, right? And why don't they have driver's licenses? Because they want to live in much more walkable urban places. Unlike in New York, where you don't need to have a car, or Washington, D.C., but for much of the United States, that's not the case. There's not good mass transit, and it's harder to live without a car in many other cities in America, but I think it is with rising gas prices and other issues that are becoming a major concern. So there's huge implications in just that in real estate. And you see it playing out in markets now all over America, whether it's Chicago or New York or Pittsburgh, or of large numbers of people beginning to move downtown now. And how cities take advantage of this new market trend is really one of the important conversations going on all across the country now. One example of how this is playing out is that where people are working, if you look at the new generation of companies growing up now, Google, which is just 12 years old, can you imagine? And Facebook and Amazon and a host of other companies, they are shaping a very different kind of an employment place to work. And increasingly you see employers locating in cities or in urban areas because their employees want not only a great place to work, but a great place to walk out of work and enjoy the neighborhood, to have restaurants and bars and enjoy themselves. And so you have, as an example, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Google locates first a research facility there with, in partnership with Carnegie Mellon University, and then decides to grow an office that's going to employ 600 to 900 people. And instead of locating that office out in a typical suburban park, they located in an old abandoned Nabisco bakery has been renovated by a development company that in a neighborhood that's just a neighborhood emerging from being blighted for many years, and their employees love that kind of environment. And so those millennials and the new companies are changing the way we work, and the office space itself typically is about half the square footage of what was a more traditional office space per employee. So both location and the type of offices that we're seeing people choose to want to work in now look very different.